What is this, the milk crate challenge? What the hell is this? It's terrible. I'm like 6 feet tall and I almost tripped on that.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Have everybody been carded?
Yeah.
Yes.
No? Carded?
I mean, to be fair, so, just so you know, it's a big 12.
I did this company's show. We did their show in Reno, Silver Age Comic Con, last year. And so this year, I guess, since last year's panel, they're like, I'm going to put this as an 18 plus. And I was like, what the fuck is that all about? That's a bunch of bullshit. What kind of pussy-ass kind of fucking outfit is this bullshit about? He's like, that's the exact reason why I had it. And I was like, fuck this.
Yeah, but you know what? At least you can sit here and say, fuck this.
Correct. Right. I mean, listen, whenever we do panels in other places, I always say, like, hey, thank you for coming. Just to start off, if you're a fan of our movies are rated R, the subject matter of which at times can be weird, like donkey shows and snowballs. Dead people getting effed in the background. And people will ask questions about said topics. So if you don't want a long car ride home with your kids going, Mommy, now's the time to leave. Otherwise, within 5 minutes, you're going to be shit out of luck. And that usually helps people like, oh, okay. And I've seen it where people are like, oh my goodness, you know, and they start to walk out. And I'm like, I get it. That's called good parenting. It is what it is. That's enough of my warnings. Who I am.
It's still early.
I mean, you're the one that gets the abuse of try not to suck any dick on the way for the parking lot.
Yeah, it's been okay so far, you know, but it's like, it's okay though. It's okay.
So, I guess I'll start with some of the questions. Again, thank you guys for joining me today. This is my first time.
No pressure.
Be gentle, people. He's a noob.
Yeah, I literally went up to them and like shaking. I'm so sorry. This is my first time. Please be gentle.
He did. And it was like, oh my God, it's prom night all over.
I want to start by asking questions about Clerks. The first original that came out in 1994.
When were you born?
1994. Okay. Not to make anyone feel, but I am a young one here. So really, how did you guys get the role for that? You know, tell us a little bit about the backstory on that and meeting Kevin Smith for the first time. Whoever wants to start first.
Well, we both actually worked at the theater that have done plays at the theater that Kevin held auditions at. And so through the grapevine, it just kind of was said that someone's going to be holding auditions. And so if we wanted to audition for a film, and their words, not mine, some kid is making a movie. So if anybody has the 10th anniversary DVD, you will actually get to see our audition pieces. And pretty much got a call, I don't even know exactly when, because it's been over 30 years. I can't remember very well. But Kevin had me go to the convenience store, had me read the script, make sure that I had no problems with what was going to be said. And I'm like, it's fine. I went to work the next day and I pretty much read the script while I was in between clients, and I was laughing. I was like, I'm so in. So.
So yeah, almost the same thing. The owner of the First Avenue Playhouse in New Jersey, which is still in business. I called up, because this is before the internet and people had their own cell phones, called me up at my house saying, hey, Brian, this kid is doing a movie in town next month, is holding auditions, and you're in the age range of the characters that they're looking for, you should come out and audition. They'll be holding it at the theater Sunday night and Monday night. I'm like, oh, great. Now, that was a month before the actual audition. So, month came and went. I was doing a show at a different theater at the time, and I totally blanked. And Monday morning, I got a call from Joe going, hey, Brian, where were you last night? I was talking you up to the guys and thought you'd come out. I'm like, oh my God, was that last night? Oh, fuck, so sorry. They're doing it again tonight, right? They're like, yeah. It's like, what, just like a headshot and a resume? He goes, yeah, and bring a monologue. Like, you're going to come in and do a monologue. I'm like, all right, cool. And I went down there not knowing what I was auditioning for. I could have been auditioning for porn for all I knew, which would have been fine. I have no qualms.
But that's in LA, not in Jersey.
Yeah, that's true. That's more in your neighborhood. And so I went down there. I asked how many principals were they. They said 6, but they were already cast, is what they said to me. I was like, oh, okay. Like tonight is all the day players, customers who are going to come in, people who have 1 line, maybe 2. That's about it. I'm like, all right. Came in, did my audition, which if you have the 10-year anniversary, the Clerks X, the black version DVD. The extra DVD on it has our auditions on it. Did this audition from a play called Wait Until Dark, which we did together. Cobbled together a dialogue into a monologue. He liked what I did, that he called me back a couple of days later saying, hey, I'd like you to come read for a callback. So the callbacks were held at the Leonardo Recreational Center. He would have been done that. He would have been like, oh, this was the media today. It would have been a different take for the doctor. Not whiny enough. And that's the other thing is that people are like, why would Caitlin ever leave someone who's in fit, is like in great shape as her? And as you can see, they do hook up because he's Rick Terrace. So that's how we got the gig.
Yes, and I didn't know that he was auditioning, and so it was at the callbacks that I actually saw that he was up for the role. So it was actually nice to see that we would be working together.
Right, because after me and him did that reading, he brought me back again to do what they call a chemistry read. And I known already, like, oh, I've worked with her 4 other times. I've been her brother, I've been your boyfriend,
and my killer.
And your killer. So I know her literally inside out.
Back to the Pornhub movies.
Yeah. So when I walked in, and I turned and saw we both was like, hey! And Kevin was the third wheel all of a sudden. I was like, what?
So, going to Clerks 3, you both get the call from Kevin Smith. We're doing this Clerks 3 movie. What was your reaction to this? I mean, it was a long time since Clerks 2, and especially Clerks 1.
Well, for me, it wasn't a call, but I'm sure that it was for you. I mean, he pretty much talks to Kevin on a regular, and is in on everything. And I was told, I forget how, I mean, well, there was the original Clerks 3 script.
Correct.
That I was supposed to be in, but then pretty close to shooting, before it was canceled, I was told it's like...
No, we weren't close to shooting. The original script, which was a much darker script than the one that you guys eventually saw. So that was like so the movie came out 2 years ago. 7 years prior to that, or no, 8 years prior to that, there was a Clerks 3 script. Very dark, very funny, don't get me wrong, but also very dark. And Kevin was in the process of trying to get that produced. The Weinstein brothers own the rights to Clerks 3, and Harvey would have to be the producer of it. And both me, Jeff, and pretty much everybody else who had morals and a brain, were like, no, we really don't want to work with them again. But there's a thing in the film industry called first look, last pass when you make a deal with them for future projects. Meaning, like, we love what you did in this project. Your next project, we want to have first look, last pass. So you write a new script, they get the first look at the scripts to see if they want to make it. And they call it last pass. Now they can say, it's not for us. That's what the Weinsteins did with Mallrats, for instance. Kevin wrote it, gave it to the Miramax, and Kevin and Harvey and Bob were like, it's not really the type of film we like to do. Thus, Kevin went to Universal Studios, to which they produced it. Same idea with this. So the Weinstein said, yeah, no, we don't want to do the Clerks 3 thing. So you can then take it to someone else, make it, but then once it's finished,
they get last pass. They sit, they watch the movie, go, you know what, we do want it back. And then they pay everybody who produced it ahead of time, and then they get it back. But there was a lot of back and forth with a lot of things. I'm not talking about anything that wasn't in the press. We had to audit them for Clerks 2 because there was a lot of money that was not given to us that should have been, that we had to settle with, which is a regular thing with the Weinsteins. Literally, they were part of an executive producing the first Lord of the Rings movie. You'll see Bob and Harvey as executive producers. They had the nerve to tell Peter Jackson, who had a bonus in his contract, that if it made such and such a money, he was to get something along the lines of $200,000 as a bonus, and blah, blah, blah. They had the nerve to say, that movie didn't make any money. like with a straight face, they had that. So it's a thing, it's a game that guy's been playing forever. He was always hiding things, as we know, a lot of hiding things now. So that being said, that we said no to. Years go by, Kevin has this heart attack, obviously survives it. Is doing amazingly well. He was losing weight and eating healthy before the heart attack, then had the heart attack, and then really, got into a strict regime of everything. And he decided to write that experience into this new Clerks 3, which then when me and Jeff were approached with this one, we were like, yeah, this feels more of what the Clerks would be about. And funny enough, the base idea, the idea that Randall has the idea that he wants to make a movie about their lives, being convenience store clerks. In other words, the making of Clerks was an idea that we had back in 2000 when we were doing the Clerks animated series. We were going to do 2 episodes of that animated version of what you saw in Clerks 3. So it was funny that Kevin held on to that when he came back and like, look at you recycling the cartoon. So the germination of everything, putting it together, putting in his own health issues into it, the fact that we wouldn't be able to have gotten, even with the first version of Clerks 3, we never would have been able to lock down Rosario Dawson to a 4-week shoot, just because she's a Jedi now and she's all sorts of stuff, traveling the galaxy. But her schedule was very busy. So instead, this is a creative choice to do what we did with her character in Clerks 3. I don't want to spoil it if people haven't seen Clerks 3.
If they haven't seen it by now.
Well, no, there's literally someone at my table who's like, I haven't seen it yet, don't kill me. I'm like, don't worry.
Spoilers don't count anymore.
No, I do highly recommend that movie. I did watch it for the first time this past week, and it is my favorite Clerks movie. Like, I really enjoyed it. Tearjerker. Seriously, tearjerker.
Brian made me cry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now you
It
really
was at the heart.
Now you really sound like my problem.
Fun fact, I talked to her a little while ago.
Oh, that's right. Now I know you're lying because it wasn't her.
So, the script process for each movie between the two of you, do you act alongside each other like in a scripting process and just finalizing the script? You're playing your character, working off each other. How does that typically work, and how much do you get to put into that script from your character's perspective?
Wow, you've really gone all James Lipton on this one.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I kind of think
Wait for the blue cards like, when you reach the pearly gates. It's kind of real deep. First of all, we don't sit alongside Kevin for the scripting process. That's Kevin's job.
And that's strictly a writer's job.
Yeah. But we did do a table read, me, Kevin, Jeff, Jay, Elias, Trevor, and Austin for Clerks 3, and Kevin was at the head of the table. And this was a couple of weeks before we started filming. Just finalizing just different scenes and whatnot. And so we did that. We did do 2 script reads of the script and change certain things, especially towards the end. And that's a lot of, that took decades, literally decades of trust to build up with Kevin, because Kevin's a very protective writer. And so, for the first film, we had 2% of input of the first Clerks, of how things could be even said. This one was probably 10 to 15% of us going like, well, what if we did this, or adding a little spin to something that comes like, I like it. So sometimes a heart attack does the person dead. They soften up a little. That's the process with that. As far as learning our own lines and working it out with each other, I mean, between me and Jeff especially, we've been together doing these things for 30 years in different incarnations between 3 Clerks movies, the cartoon series, the Flying Car short, how we pop up in Jane Silent Bob Strike Back and stuff like that. We have a simpatico that's we get it. And same thing with Marilyn. You know, the few times that we've been able to work together with these characters, we kind of know each other very well in that sense. And even in other things that have not to do with the Clerks world, we know each other well. Plus we're on the road all the time.
And we did our scenes when we actually started to film our scenes. We did not practice together or rehearse together or anything like that. And everybody has their own process of learning their lines and just kind of doing what they do. And so it's actually sometimes easier to do your own process because then you're kind of reacting honestly against each other.
Right.
And I had my own little thing that I was kind of going through that day and just going through the process. Even though I know the character, I just sat down and started writing certain things of what the character was going through, and then once we got on set, it was just like we just did it last.
Yeah. So there's the scene. She comes back into the store with the fake movie script to confront Randall. Very funny scene. It ends up outside in her Range Rover, and another very funny scene, but also had a lot of heart to it. That's what I loved about the third one is the depth of which the characters were. They weren't just rapidly firing, jokes and rapidly firing funny shit that was just fun to laugh at. You got to really know these people over the years. It was great bringing a lot of the original people who played the characters from the first movie in the fake film, so to speak, of Randall's. It was a lot of fun. Scott Schiaffo coming in as the truly dumb guy again. It was very funny to make him like this real method actor. There was just so many great parts about it. How the woman who came in to complain about which videos to buy is literally a woman who does a Lucille Ball, impersonation gig, which that was her real gig. Like that woman is one of the co-owners of the First Avenue Playhouse. But one of her side hustles was always showing up, being hired as a Lucille Ball impersonator. So to work that into the script was a lot of fun. And that's what I think that Kevin has become in general as a writer, is he's really honed his writing the depth of characters now. Like even his last movie that he just did, the 4:30 movie with Austin Zazier, who's now his future son-in-law, because he just proposed to his daughter. Smart move on his part. and he's just released his own directed film, apparently. So that being said, it's good to see Kevin coming in with even more skill. Like he's always had the skill, but as you check in, at least with this world, with these characters every 10 or so years, you can see the growth of us as people, us as actors, but also him as a writer and director. And we've been very blessed to be able to work with him as much as we have.
And then as far as working with Kevin Smith, like from all the movies that you're a part of, how is it working with him? Is it very hands-on person, or just letting you do your thing?
I would say both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was he handsy with you?
I don't like to kiss and tell. No, I feel like he doesn't handhold you, which because I feel he has trust in us completely, especially having worked with us. As I always say, it's like we all kind of came out of the same boat together, learning and stuff like that. So, but when he wants to get our input, he gets that in, and he knows that he can, get something that's not going to railroad it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're given the freedom to try things as well, especially now in the digital age. In the beginning, with its actual film, you're really burning film on it. You were more tight with it. But as things become digital, as we filmed digital now for almost 20 years, we could take multiple takes without a problem. Like if we had a different take on something, or we wanted to do is just punch it up with something else. He's like, yeah, and you're doing it right. Where from Video Village, where he's watching the monitor as the what's being filmed, and after a cut is said from him, you hear, if you hear that, you know you're doing it right. Everyone's like, oh, I love it, but let's do a series of those. And so then it'll be like, all right, let's do another take of a series of whatever it was that was super funny, whatever it was that was super funny. You know when he likes it or when he doesn't like it. You can take a look at him, and he's just like, no, yeah.
It's funny, after I did my first scene, and usually directors have a monitor. It's like for Clerks, there was no monitor, so that we can go and see it afterwards and things like that. And so, having worked in so many independent films, it's like I've never really had a monitor. So then, here we are, Clerks 3, do my first scene, and I can't remember.
Crushed it.
But he had me go and look at the monitor. It's like, so what do you think? And I'm like, well, what do you think? It's like, did you like what I did? I mean, it's like, it was actually kind of difficult. And I'm like, I don't want to see the monitor ever again. Because then I'll get too judgy about myself.
I remember we did the scene in the Range Rover, and I ran over to the monitor to watch. Because it's such, especially the reverse on you, all of your stuff. And I'm watching, I'm like, fucking crushing the scene, this is awesome. And he was just like, bro. And he said it too. He goes, when I was writing the scene, I didn't know if I wanted to keep this scene, but now I have to. He says, your performance, now I have to keep this scene, and I want to keep this scene, which was a really huge compliment to the work that she had put into it. Because when the writer will say it to you, it's like, you know what, this is just a throwaway scene. A lot of filmmakers will write that. They'll write, if the film is only supposed to be an hour and a half, they'll write an hour and 50 minutes worth of stuff to shoot, and then have spaces to trim. And some bits, especially comedies, just get cut out because it's either too much of one joke or it's just not hitting the right way or whatever. But in this case, he was really honest. Like, I'm going to be honest with you, I wasn't really planning to keep this scene. I was debating whether to keep this scene or not, but you made me keep it. And so here we are.
I put a lot of pressure on myself
You did?
for that day that I had to go in and work because I really wanted to show my growth since the first one, and also just because of the emotional arc that the character had. It's like I really wanted to hit that. And it's like sometimes I feel like, did he write that in because it's like I did such an emotional audition for the first one that he wanted?
Well, it's so funny that you say that. Like, there's a story that Kevin talks about, and some of the other guys who were there for the audition, about how Walt Flanagan couldn't get over in the initial audition for the first Clerks. She did a monologue, and in the monologue, the character cries, and she cried on cue, like a good actress would. And Walt and Brian Johnson, I forget who else, no, Brian wasn't there. Walt and whoever else was there, he leaned over and said, dude, she's actually crying. He was shocked and amazed that an actor could actually cry. He's like, do you think she's all right? And so, that being said, when you can impress Walt and those guys like that, it's impressive. You're crying after the gig.
So as far as filming inside that damn convenience store, how much of a pain in the ass was it in the first Clerks movie? Because seeing it on film, it does not look very big.
Oh, if you go there in person, anybody ever been to the Quick Stop? Yeah, it's tiny. It's not that big at all. Once again, reminds me of my prom. Anyway, so filming there, to be honest with you, it was fine for us, me and Marilyn, because we're used to small theater spaces to begin with. So the fact that we actually had a physical space that is an actual convenience store as some fake made up one on a stage, actually worked out great. We had our limitations, but through the genius of both Kevin and Dave Klein and Scott Mosier, we were able to, we knew what our limitations were. It kept us boxed in, literally, for a perfect way to shoot. We couldn't shoot color because we didn't have enough money in the budget to buy lights, because fluorescent lighting on color film makes everybody have like a matrix kind of green look to them. So you have to use tungsten lights to offset that and color correct it, blah, blah, blah. So too much money. So Dave Klein was like, well, why don't we just do black and white? And just, it'll be a lot easier, we don't have to worry about color, all, on contrast. And he was like, okay. And then for the makeup department, it's the same thing, where it was like, well, then we don't really have to worry about makeup so much, because we're not on color film. The only thing that we would have to do in the location, which is most locations, especially if it's a convenience store, we'd have to unplug all the coolers and freezers, because you hear that of refrigeration units. We couldn't unplug the lottery machine because fucking the state would come down on us. Like someone had stolen the lottery machine, which, like, I think is a federal crime, never mind a state crime. So that we had to, like, throw a heavy moving blanket on top of. Take it off the counter, because it sat on the counter most of the time. So we had to take that off. Oh, thank you so much. You're welcome. Did we hide the vodka in it? And so that's the only kind of problem. The only other thing was true, this happened a lot, especially in the beginning of the night, because we would start filming, we all had regular 9-to-5 jobs. She worked at the salon, I worked at a barware manufacturing company, Jeff worked for AT&T in the mailroom in Freehold. Lisa was going to school at Brookdale and had another job, I forget what it was. And Kevin obviously worked the store during the day. So once we would close the store around 10:30, 11 o'clock, we'd start shooting from 11 o'clock at night until 6 in the morning. And that's the reason why the gum is jammed in the lock so the shutters are closed. So we didn't have to fake outside with lights to make it look like daytime. People would come in, like if we forget to lock the door, people would come in like, you guys open? And non-stop, and this would drive Kevin crazy. Oh, you guys making a music video? And he's like, we're making a film. Get out. And like literally, like pack smokes, like literally constantly. So when he wrote that in, are you open? That was what was going on. And the only other bonus about where we were filming was next to us was a deli bagel shop place. And they would get their fresh bagel delivery around 5 a.m. And every once in a while, they've since gone out of business, so this doesn't have that. We would break into their bagel batch and take it, like literally still hot kind of bagel. I remember the owner came over, Kevin told me that the owner came over once, like, hey, the owner came over and said, do you know there's any kids going around stealing bagels? And we were like, no idea what you're talking about. Bunch of savages in this town.
They were good.
They were so good. I can imagine the owner eventually seeing this video like, you sons of bitches!
So you both have been in a plethora of films, and I wanted to ask, what role or movie do you feel like is your most underrated that you would want more people to have a look at?
Oh my gosh. Well, then again, I don't really know what they have or haven't seen, but I mean, because it's independent films and you get to know so many people while I was in LA, 28 years in a couple weeks. I've done some sci-fi, some horror, and it's been fun. It's been fun to kind of, build up different characters. But
What were those movies? People would like to know.
I'm gonna have to try to remember.
Was the guy dressed as the Man in Black come by your house?
Let's see, Alien Armageddon.
There you go.
Lake Erie, that's a horror. Oh my god, I really honestly can't remember.
Come by our table, she'll remember that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's
The
an
IMDb.
The IMDb, yeah. There's a movie I did, Kevin produced, he's also in it, written and directed by Brian Johnson, a film called Vulgar, that I did. Jim Hughes, and a lot of the people from the Views universe in it. It's not a Views movie, but it's a dark kind of, if you know Brian Johnson from comic book men, if you're a Tom Steve Dave fan especially, and you know the twisted kind of, like what things that pop out of Brian Johnson's head. This is a script about, in the original Clerks, there's that animated sequence in the very beginning of the clown comes home, goes behind a dressing screen, and then changes into this bustier and fishnet stockings, and it's like, Kevin and him were sitting in Kevin's office, and Brian Johnson, because it was the original company logo for Views Films, in the corner of the poster is a picture of this clown. And Kevin's like, what do you think that guy's story is? And Kevin's like, I don't know, why don't you write it? And thus this film, Vulgar, was born. So it's a dark movie about a young man who's a party clown for kids, who's not making enough to pay his bills that way. So he comes up with an idea of being a party clown for adults. And his first foray into it goes horribly wrong. And you see the ramifications of what happens after his first gig. And it's a very dark and twisted film. It was a film that was bought by Lionsgate and distributed out. When they brought it to the Toronto Film Festival, when we were trying to get distribution, it was a full house of like 800 people in the theater. About halfway through, 300 get up and leave. Because there's some disturbing scenes that happen in the film that people weren't ready for. So much so that when the film got distribution and we were out to promote it for the limited release, when Howard Stern was still on free radio before he went to Sirius, they went on the show to promote it. And Howard's like, I'm gonna tell you guys, this is not a slight against your film, but I had to stop watching the film halfway through. And not because it's not a good film, but you guys make such a disturbing film. And so we, from that point, was like, a film that even Howard Stern couldn't finish. You're gonna want to see this because it's vulgar. So that was our way of trying to push that. So I'm very proud of how that character arc of Will Carlson, who I play, starts and finishes. And about, I'd say 4 or 5 years ago, Brian Johnson came to me and goes, I have an idea. Would you be interested in a sequel? I said, well, what's the pitch? And so he gave me this idea of what his pitch was. I'm like, ooh, that's good. And then just as we were in the middle of lockdown, he calls me again. He goes, what kind of drugs have you taken in your life? I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? And what does it matter what drugs have I taken in my life? It's a movie, we can fake it. Listen here, fucking brown bunny, we're not doing it. Anyway, so he has an idea for a really great sequel. To which, because he's like, I have nothing to do during lockdown and I'm off my meds. I'm like, good for you. That's a fucking mind racer, go on. And he's yet to finish, because then he met a woman, Mary-Beth, and they got engaged, and they got married, and now they have their house. And I gave him the 2-3 years of, newlywed shit. But now it's time to get back to fucking work. Enough of this just fucking saying shit on Tom Steve Dave. He's got to get back and do it. So I always tell the fans to pester his social media about, like, Holland says you have an amazing Vulgar 2 script. And then he asked everybody who was involved in the first one if they want to come back for it. And so far everybody said yes, including like Brian Quinn and a bunch of other people. So anyway, that's a film, to your original point, what's a film that I think people need to watch more of. Vulgar. Now it's not your, hey kids, after Thanksgiving, let's sit down and watch. It's definitely not a first date movie. Because the person will be looking next to you and like, oh my god, my friend I gotta go, I'm so sorry. But it's an interesting watch. Another movie is a comedy that's very funny called Brutal Massacre Comedy. It's a fake documentary about the making of a horror film. So if you're a big horror film fan, we have like Gunnar Hansen in it, and Ken Faree, and all the women from The Evil Dead, and tons of others. David Naughton is the star of the movie from American Werewolf. So that's, if you're in for a good chuckle, that's another one that I think people would do.
Yeah, as a fan of Cannibal Holocaust, I definitely got to check out Vulgar.
Yeah.
Because that sounds right up my alley. Question before I turn it over to the crowd to ask some questions.
Sure.
You guys show up on set for Clerks 3.
Mm.
And what was the feelings that you were having? You're on set with each other, you're doing another one, and knowing the script, spoilers, the last one. What were your feelings?
A lot of nostalgia, remembering a lot of things, but missing certain people.
Yeah. Lisa, who plays Caitlin in the first movie, she passed away about 9 years ago with a 10-year battle of breast cancer. So there was a feeling of missing someone, that's definitely for sure. Being in that space again. Now, yes, we were there for Clerks 2 for a short hot minute in the beginning of Clerks 2. I have cousins who come over from Ireland and England, and they want to see the store, so I go down there and show them around, stuff like that. I check in with the Topper family, who still own it. There's the original owners, they still own it. They're not letting go of that thing. And being that I live not far from there, only like 2 hours from the area, and I'm always going to the store. So that part of it. But the thing also, especially with me and Jeff being there and being in costume, you know, seeing them recreate the original look of the counter space, because the counter is not that, doesn't have the cigarette overhanging anymore. But they kept it because they were like, well, you never know if Kevin wants to make another movie. So, you know, the production is ready to bring it up and put it up again. The section that was on the side that was all the porno mags is now all rolling papers and bombs and, you know, pipes and stuff like that. So it's more like a headshot. But the other thing too was I thought to myself, this is so weird and so crazy because, you know, if at the time when we were filming it was 28 years earlier, if 28 years ago, if, you know, The Flash brought me back to say, hey, you want to talk to yourself for a second? Or if all of a sudden the TARDIS showed up and I went to talk back to that kid, 23-year-old kid, I'm like, you're going to be back here 28 years later saying the same shit again. I'm like, oh my God, shoot me now. I have not progressed as an actor except this one role. But it was fun. It was a real trip, especially recreating those scenes in Randall's movie.
Yeah.
And getting to let the audience in on a lot of real things that happened while we were making that movie. Which was just so fun. Like that whole scene about Jay being stage fright, shy, to dance in front of us, that shit literally happened. We're all like, what? Yeah, I can't do this running people. And we all went into the store and we're like, what the fuck? And then we did it, and Kevin didn't know what he had until it was developed. Well, Kevin did because he's standing next to him. But technically, didn't know visually what it was because we didn't have Dave behind the camera. But yeah, it's funny that we're able to write it and put it into the piece. It was just so many different things that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was definitely a trip to do it, and to have the reaction that we've had from the audiences. You know, we've had a lot of people connect with different family members and friends who may have lost family members or friends based on it, to come up to us. And you know, when the first time I did a convention after the movie was released, and there were a lot of people like, brother, you motherfucker, you made me cry. And I was like, well, that means you cared. You know, that's awesome. If you didn't cry after 30 years of watching me fucking dance up here, then you're a heartless fuck. But the fact that it was, so then I was like, I should be sponsored by Kleenex. I should have one on my table and be like, I gotta tell you, and then just go, would you like one? But it's good. You know, it took us 30 years, but we got to there. We got to a point where it's like, I love these fucking idiots.
No, seriously, thank you for answering my questions. If anyone wants to come up and ask, we got a mic here. Ask better questions than me as he comes up to turn the mic on. As you can see. He's doing it right now.
Who's got questions? Come on up.
Microphone is on.
By the way, I love the Letterkenny Irish.
Thank you. You've said it yourself, and if you've ever watched the Kevin Smith commentary, he hates when people ad-lib, like Ben Affleck.
Right.
Is there anything that you've actually ad-libbed into the movies, or any sort of action that stayed in the movies? Like, yeah, we'll keep that. And the second question, Brian, does Rob Lowe smell as good as he looks?
I'll answer the second part first. Yes. His farts smell like Atkins chocolate bars. As for the first part, I can't remember if anything I've ad-libbed that Kevin has kept into the film.
No, I never ad-libbed at all, and only for the original. Was there a line, and I can't remember the line, but that he asked me, would you as a person, as a woman, actually say that? And I said, well, maybe not exactly like that. So there was one line.
What was the line?
I can't remember.
Was it the scene with Randall in the video store, or was it something when you were screaming and beating me with your purse? Or was it when we were discussing 37 Park?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Because it's like, I put it out of mind, just like.
Was he like, is 37 too much for a woman?
But just like asking us, it's like, you guys, the fans, know the lines way better than we do, because it's like, we learn the lines for the project, and then we're on to the next, or,
Yeah, actors are pretty much random access memory, like, we're very, once we're done and they said cut, we're like, blank, done. Because we're eventually going to read another script that we got to start to fucking burn into our brains.
So, like literally I just got done shooting the film in LA. I was in there for 12 days, and I left 2 days ago. I was already like, I don't even know what the fuck movies are. I didn't. I know it's a family drama. It's I play a dad to this family. My wife's an alcoholic, and that's about as far as I know. No, I'm kidding. It's fun though. It's got Billy Zane in it, so I got to opposite Billy. So he's intense. He's really intense, but he's a good guy. But as far as like improv, Jesus, I can't think if there was something like I'll do a take of something that he'll be like, ooh, let's let's do like more of those. So there are times where I'll do a take of something where he had it written a certain way, as opposed to the way I did it. And then he'll be like, ooh, no, yeah. But the first movie, for instance, like, I'm not even supposed to be here today, right? I was like saying, I think I was saying like, man, I'm not supposed to be here today. He's like, no. I'm not even supposed to be here today. Like he would say that, he would give me line readings, which eventually as an actor, you don't like that. Because we're not parents, right? We're actors. And he got the hint of it, like, okay, I got you. I didn't say where you're coming from. Now let me do the words out of my mouth. And he's now learned that. He learned that real quick. He's a really good director with actors in a sense. I'm a big fan when I direct that. I love to ask questions of the actor and let them discover what I'm trying to get them to. So it makes them think like they discovered it. Like a good lawyer, when you're cross-examining someone, you're asking them the leading questions to get to the answers you already know they have to get to, and make it seem like, oh, it's mine. So there's a lot of that goes on. But a great question.
All right, who else wants to come up and ask a question?
Come on.
Come on. Oh, there we go. We got someone.
I got a question. Where's my nuts? Yeah! In a woman's purse, just like they always are.
So great to see you guys.
Good to see you. Love the outfit.
Awesome, thanks. Nervous.
You're in a safe space, don't worry. And it's 18 plus, say the fuck you whatever you want.
I know, that's between which question I was going to go with, too.
Go, 18 plus, 18 plus, 18 plus.
Okay, so for 18 plus, what is the, ballast or craziest on any of Kevin's movies that you guys participated that was like, holy fuck?
All right. So the question is, I guess, what is the most strangest in the phallic nature?
Ballast or craziest?
I got
Well,
you.
I mean, you can go phallic too.
Yeah. Any craziness on the Kevin Smith?
It's like, what's the weirdest dick joke Ken made on stage? It's like,
I don't know, for me, I guess the most weird thing was our car scene.
Yeah! Brown chicken, brown cow.
As comfortable as I am with this guy I love to death, it was still very weird to do. And when Kevin positioned him in the car, and then I had to kind of sit on his lap, and I start to do one way, and Kevin's like, no, the other way. I'm like, no, I've never done this.
And then in action, where they're shooting the exterior of the car, right, with some lighting in it so you can kind of see the shadows going on. But the shot is to make the Jeep rock, right? And so we're going at it, so to speak. And she just would not stop fucking laughing. And I was like, it's my prom date all over again.
It's like I kept going with these different scenarios
And
in
she's
my
just
head.
laughing and laughing. And I'm like, thank God we're not rolling for sound.
And that was something else that started rolling in my head because it's like, oh my God, if they're hearing this, it's like, am I supposed to be saying something else, doing something else, and here I am laughing? And then it's like, oh, he's probably feeling really good right now with me laughing as well.
I was a little pissed that wasn't part of the deleted scene. Just hearing the laughter as it's something's going. That is funny. I say one of the funniest things, just witnessing what was supposed to be a donkey show. Like, literally for 2 days before we shot that scene, they'd set up a little mini corral for the donkey out back of the Movies restaurant, which was in the middle of this kind of very suburban neighborhood, 1 block away from Knott's Berry Farms down in Orange County. And I can imagine where anybody living in that neighborhood, it was an old Burger King, right? That had been not a Burger King for a few years. It was slated to be demoed, actually. So we got to use it for the 2-3 weeks we had it. And so we went out there, painted it the orange, the yellow and purple colors and movies and blah, blah, blah. I can imagine someone living in the neighborhood, someone coming home from work going, hey, honey, someone's bought the old Burger King. Oh, really? Yeah, I've seen crews out there, they're painting and stuff. Oh, wow. Next day or a couple of days later, hey, it's got this really weird yellow and purple kind of scheme. Some movies or something? I don't know, but I gotta look that up. It's great. And then a day later, I don't know what's going on with that restaurant, but there's a donkey outside the back of it. My God, they're not building this wall fast enough if you ask me. It was before Trump, so I'm just throwing that in there. And then, so the name of the donkey was Asphalt. God's honest. And I was like the pavement or like the butt crack? And they were like, no, like the pavement. I'm like, oh, all right. And so we got to know it, and then we bring it on set. And they're like, all right, listen, everybody, please be quiet. We don't want to startle the donkey, because we had a very heavy weighted can that cemented it for a chain that went to the bottom of its harness. So at least its head would be within at least the straight. But the ass and whatever else, it could turn over and kick you or whatever you wanted. But she was adorable, by the way, it was a female. And so then we brought Zach Knudsen in, who was our behind-the-scenes documentary guy, by the way, who got roped into being the sexy sub. And so, all right, here we go. We let the set be clear so that the handler could come in and take care of it and calm it down, blah, blah, blah. Jeff comes in, Zach's behind the curtain. We're all sitting on the tables like you see in the movie, and shit starts. Now, we don't have the music loud because we don't want to startle the animal, but we do have someone with a Bluetooth speaker getting the basic music in the distance so that Zach can somewhat move along with the music and stuff like that. But the lights were the lights and everything else was visually see what's going on. And then the scenes, everything that was shot with us watching was shot, I think, without the donkey there because, with Elias, Trevor going, woo! That kind of stuff. We didn't want to startle the donkey, but that's got to be one of the weirdest things in a Kevin Smith movie that I actually had to participate in, which was kind of just funny and odd. And there's always, no matter how many years I've been doing Comic-Con, no matter how many panels I get to, someone, every show, at least one person, brings up the donkey show. And I always go, there's always one.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this was Brian and Marilyn from the Clerks.
Thank you guys so much. Just if anybody is interested, in last October, Kevin started his own con called Chronic Con. A few people who were at it last year. We had a 30-year anniversary of Clerks. This year, they haven't announced any guests, but I'll give you the inside scoop. It's going to be a Mallrats reunion. Yeah! So go to ChronicCon for real for more information. I have flyers at my table if you want to come by and grab some information. We'll see you then.
Nice.
Thank you guys for watching. And if you like what you see here, maybe give me a subscribe, maybe a notification bell ring. Alright, go away.